Hello everybody. If you don't know yet, we now live in Iloilo City, and we recently moved here on December 1st. Before that, we lived on Boracay, which is a very famous vacation spot. Wasn't perfectly ideal for us, but oh my god, we did enjoy living there. So we did already, after 1 month of living there, we figured out our budget, and we shared it with everybody so people can get a good idea of what it costs to live here in the Philippines based on us living on Boracay. But now we've been here for 1 month, and things are a little bit different here because now, well, we live in a city, and if you don't know, we live in this beautiful, absolutely gorgeous house. It's very large. Our other house was 3 bedrooms also, but the bedrooms in this place, 1 bedroom is the size of all 3 of our bedrooms on Boracay. The house is superbly large. Beautiful. The community here is absolutely gorgeous. Many of the lots are still empty, so it's not that congested. All of our neighbors have been really friendly in this neighborhood. We have an absolutely beautiful clubhouse with 2 gigantic gymnasiums. One is used for, well, badminton. I guess it was originally set up for tennis, but badminton now, and basketball on the other, and this gorgeous pool. As well, they got like a rec center where you can rent it out for parties and things like that. Even in the middle here of the circle, there's like a lovely gazebo here, and even tonight, the community's doing a potluck in that area. So the neighborhood is absolutely gorgeous. There's a lot of reasons we love this community. There are some informal settlements here, so that means we have access to like sori-soris and stuff like that, so they don't have to go very far to get little basic essentials. So that being said, we pay 30,000 pesos a month for this house, which is a 50% increase over what our rent was on Boracay. But as I've shown you there are a lot of reasons to love this community. And of course, being in the city but kind of on the outskirts of the city means that we don't have to deal with any heavy congestion or anything like that. So we found it to be the perfect place for us. So that's our very first line item, 30,000 pesos a month. It's the biggest cost of everything that we have going on in our budget. The second part is electricity. That is the absolute highest thing you're going to deal with outside of rent. Here, we're still trying to figure it out. We got our bill though, and it is quite long. I'm gonna try to hold it up here. So as you can see, it is very long. And there's all kinds of different charges and everything all the way through. Now this bill just came, and so this is our 1 month bill. 13,853 pesos. On Boracay we never had anything over 10,300 pesos, but we had a much smaller house. As well, we first moved into this house, we were losing water like crazy. We were constantly filling our tanks here because we're on a deep well system with these tanks right there that get filled up. There turns out to be a few issues. Number one, you have to shut the valve off to the bottom one and only use the top because they have this H valve here, and so what happens is the gravity will force the water constantly up to the lower tank and have it overflow if you have any water in the top. But it only fills from the top. It's complicated. I don't know who set this up. It's not a good job. The second part was that we have 2 toilets that were broken from the day we moved in, and they just run 24/7. You can't hear it because there's no pressure in the house. It's just gravity fed. And so normally you would hear it in a pressurized system. You would hear, oh, there's water running somewhere in the house. Well, you didn't hear it. Even sitting right by the toilet there, you would not hear the water flowing. And so we were emptying out the tanks every 2 hours. It was crazy. We were running the pump like crazy. So we're hoping, now that we realize that and shut off those two of our 3 bathrooms, we've shut the water off for now until we fix them, that we will save a lot of money, because now we're running the water pump once every 2 days tops. It depends if we do laundry. So that is considerably less electricity usage. If you know anything about motors, that start and stop uses a lot of energy real quick. And so we're probably saving quite a bit just in there. Maybe a couple thousand pesos a month, not starting and stopping that thing constantly. As well, we've gotten to the winter, I guess, of the Philippines, and the temperature has dropped dramatically from like 32, 34, that kind of thing, down to 25, 26. Once you've been here a while, that feels cold. So we haven't been running our air conditioning, except for when Bianca is doing her Twitch streaming. She will turn on her AC in just that one room. But otherwise, we haven't been using any. We're expecting to get a much lower bill next month. Our goal would be try to keep it around 8,000. That would be incredible, but that's almost a 50% decrease. So we'll just call that a dream. But for now, for the budget, we're going to keep it at the 13,800, I think it was, 853. For the purpose of the budget. It's always better to budget based on, you know, known facts than guesses. So that's why we do this after 1 month of being here. The next part is water. Well, we don't have any water because it's from a well. So we don't have that water bill like we had on Boracay. But we could drink the drinking water on Boracay, and you cannot drink it here. So we order in these water bottles. They get delivered to our house, 25 pesos each. We go through, I guess, the 3 bottles once every 2 weeks. We'll have to get them refilled. So it's 75 pesos plus 25 pesos delivery if you don't want to go over and have them refilled yourself. So say 100 pesos, 200 pesos a month for fresh drinking water, and you know, that's obviously a pretty good cheap price. Our next cost is transportation. We do not have a car. We do not have a motorbike or anything yet. We've been living here for about a month, and on Boracay it was just not a possibility. So here, maybe in the future, we will be doing that, but for now, we're just using public transportation, Grab, taxis, that kind of thing. And so I've worked out the cost on that. The first thing I want to say is, as of 4 days ago, they've now introduced a whole bus system to replace the jeepneys. They are still smaller buses, and they will be 1-for-1 on the jeepneys, and so there will be a lot of them. The advantage of the bus system here is just like a jeepney, you just stand at the side of the road, they'll pick you up right away. Even if you're standing there, they'll pull over and say, are you going this way? Each one will list all the different areas they're going to go to on their route. And they're very, very convenient locations. Basically every single shopping mall, every destination that's popular, so City Hall, downtown, that kind of thing, Festive Walk, everything is in there. And we use it also to get into any town square. The beautiful thing about this is it's only 13.5 pesos. So round trip, 27 pesos or like 54 cents. Absolutely amazing. Air conditioned, brand new, wasn't congested when we were on them. It was, can only say good things about it because wow, what a steal of a deal right there. Because that same trip by taxi is about 190 pesos, and then if you use Grab, you got to add more to that, and so it's usually about 40 pesos per trip that Grab adds, because they're just using the taxis anyway. They've recently added Grab Car here, but it's more expensive, not less, because there's fewer of them, and it's all based on supply and demand. Grab also is a bit of an issue. Sometimes we wait 30 minutes before a cab will respond to it, and often we just give up and go to the street and try to find a taxi. So our transportation costs, we're gonna say, we don't go that often to that many places. Often, you know, people are saying, hey, come and try out this place or whatever, I'll come pick you guys up. So we're not paying for that. But let's just say on average, round trip per person, you know, we have a cost, if we use the bus, much cheaper, obviously. We're talking $3 a week for round trip 3 times, or if he's using Grab or whatever, then the destination matters, the price is going to change, those kind of things. It could be $10, $12 a week. So we're just going to say for now, just as a general average, we're going to say 1,000 pesos per week, which is 4,000 pesos per month as a budget price. Now if we use the bus, we're going to save a bunch of money. Fantastic, but we always have the option of taking a taxi. Next up is food. Clearly a very important thing. And I want you to keep in mind something. The average wage is about 500, 550 pesos a day here. So about $10 to $11. The minimum wage is 420 pesos here in Iloilo City. So you can imagine if you say something like, I can live comfortably on 500 pesos a day in food, well, you're ahead of the average person here. So it is clearly possible to do that, which would put you you know, at about $300 a month if you did that. But it actually doesn't cost that much. It all depends on what you eat, what kind of food you eat, that kind of thing. So let's set aside eating out for a minute and just talking about some basic groceries. You should be able to do $80 to $100 in groceries if you aren't living a luxurious life trying to eat steak and lobster all the time, obviously. So, because a bag of rice, a kilo, or 20 kilos, is it 20 kilos? Yeah, I think a 20 kilo bag or 25 kilo bag is only about 1,100 pesos. So that isn't very much money. That's $25. And here, if you're not eating rice, well, you're not in the Philippines, so you gotta have rice. And then buying meats and canned foods, those kind of things, vegetables, very plentiful in vegetables and fruit here. So honestly, to be 100% clear, for two people, saying, listen, we're gonna budget at 500 pesos per day, 15,000 pesos a month. Like I said, it's well above the average person's wage here, so it's clearly more than enough money. In addition to that, there is a lot of savings because we don't spend anywhere near that because we go out for dinner a lot, and we're very lucky as vloggers. Obviously, a lot of people invite us out. Hey, you know what? I want to take you to my favorite restaurant, my treat, that kind of thing. It happens. It happens quite often, and so we're like, wow, that's so amazing, and thank you. And but we don't end up having to pay for those. But on average, if we're going to talk about eating out, assuming that we pay all of the time, there are different levels. If you're just looking at the average restaurant here in this area, you're going to be about 400 pesos per person, so about 800 pesos. And you should only go out once a week, right? So say 800 times 4, so 3,200 pesos a month is a good average. Now, if you're talking about much higher end restaurant, well, the shareables that you would generally get on those restaurants is about 1,500 pesos or 750 pesos each. So if you were doing that more often, which we don't really do much of that, but if we did, that would obviously push the budget way further, almost double that price, right? So we're looking at 6,400 pesos per month, but we feel very comfortable saying 3,500 pesos per month for dining out, adding to our budget. Next up is cell phones. Those we kind of overkill all the time. We never use all of our data. We only use maybe half of what we allow, but we're still going to allow the same. We spend 500 pesos per month per person, so 1,000 pesos per month for our data and cell calling and texting and that kind of thing. And so that's obviously super reasonable to a Canadian who spends $100 a month for 3 gigabytes, and we get like 24 gigabytes and we never use it all. So yeah, I'm going to say 1,000 pesos per month for a cell phone. Something that we didn't include in our first one because at the time we still hadn't known this cost, but that is health insurance. A lot of people ask questions about health insurance. We have a whole episode including interviewing with an insurance broker who is from Canada, who immigrated to the Philippines and therefore now is a broker here. So great knowledge in that video. You might want to check it out. But we pay 19,000 pesos per year for the two of us. So we'll just divide that by 12, simple enough. But something we didn't realize when we signed it is that actually doesn't cover anything but emergencies. So that it gets you the hospitals, that gets you outpatient care after you leave the hospital, that kind of thing. And so that is only for emergencies. We found that out when we booked our family doctor and go to our family doctor, and they're like, no, your insurance doesn't cover any of that stuff. You got to pay for your family doctors. So let's just assume you're going to go to your family doctor 3 times a year, so once every 4 months. That is going to run you 500 pesos per visit. In addition to that, you gotta buy whatever medications. So in our case, like I'm on blood pressure medications, and those cost about 700 pesos a month. And so that's reasonable. But now they have me on this other medication that just helps with psoriasis, eczema, that kind of thing. And apparently it's good for all kinds of things. I don't know. I don't even know much about it other than apparently it's like a wonder drug these days. And it is expensive. A month's supply is a little over 3,000 pesos per month. So yeah, that can be a bit high, right? So we're at 4,000 pesos plus the doctor but that's every 3 months. So let's just say, for a good average, we're just going to put 4,100 pesos per month for health insurance, in addition to the annual one, which we'll divide by 12 for the purpose of this. So there you go. Those are all our health insurance costs. Oh, and actually, before I forget, I was also sent for some lab tests. And that's just because it's a new family doctor, gives you a health line. I have high blood pressure, so it wanted to make sure he fully understood my health, what level I'm at, that kind of thing. So there were blood tests, there was a chest x-ray, and a EKG, something like that. And that was quite expensive. That was 3,800 pesos. So almost 4,000 pesos. Now, you're only going to do that once a year. And your health insurance does include a full medical physical once a year. So you're not normally going to have that, but in your first time with the doctor, yeah. So I'm not going to put it in the budget, but I wanted to make sure that I was transparent. We did have to put that money out for that. And I think that's it, really. But entertainment we should throw in there too, because, you know, people do things for entertainment. Some movie theaters, going out, whatever, not for food. But there's so many free things to do, festivals and all kinds of things taking place all the time to keep you very entertained. But it's unreasonable to say you'll never spend any money on entertainment. So let's say 1,000 pesos a month. Like I said, most things are free. You're not going to go to, unless you go to the movies every week. We don't. We might go once a month. And even that will be, I think, 450 pesos, popcorn and everything, maybe 600. So that's a reasonable number to put into a budget. All right, so any good budget allows for all the silly things as well. Obviously, sometimes you're gonna buy a shirt, you're gonna buy an umbrella, there's gonna be little things. And so we're just gonna build into this whole budget system here an extra 5,000 pesos. You never know what's gonna happen. If you aren't planned for that kind of stuff, well, you'll get into trouble. Also, obviously, it's important to save. So your budget shouldn't, have anything to do with your savings. You should have money put away for a rainy day because, well, it rains. But let's just stick to what the actual cost of living is for us. It's going to be different for everyone else. I get it. Remember, we live in this gigantic house. You don't need to live there in this beautiful community. There are plenty of beautiful houses that are much smaller that are going to save you a lot of money. Like at least half. You can get about 15,000 pesos a month, a beautiful house. 10,000 even if you're real good at hunting. So keep that all in mind. So that leaves us at, after we add the 5,000 miscellaneous into the budget, it leaves us at 78,036 pesos a month. I'm going to use the basic number for converting it to US dollars. Even though I'm a Canadian, most people that are watching are going to be probably from America, or at least anywhere in the world you know how to convert your own currency to US currency. And that works out to, if we just use the 50 to $1, because yes, it's higher right now, but on average it stays around the 50. That puts you at $1,560.72, but let's say $1,560 per month US. When we did our budget before, it was based on US dollars as well. Hello. And it was just over $1,200. So we did increase by $300 a month, but come on, look at this. We live in a much bigger lifestyle than we did before, and we have access to a whole city, and we gained and benefited a lot of ways. So that's our budget. It's going to change for everybody. That is ours. It's reasonable, and if something changes in the future, it changes, and maybe we'll update you, but for the most part, we're going to try to stick to this budget. We want to take some savings from our electricity. We can put it into one of the other categories and go from there. And man, there you go. That's ours. Everybody's is different. Yes, I know there'll be people out there saying that's crazy. You can live in the Philippines for $500 a month. Sure, very possible. Obviously, when you have locals making $300 a month and then being able to survive, yes, you can. But I want to be reasonable and stick to what our actual costs are, and those are our actual costs, and it'll be different for everybody else. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you click like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we'll see you guys again very, very soon. Bye-bye. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Kamusta?
All right, so today is day 3 of looking for homes here in Iloilo City. And actually, it's going to be our final day for this trip because we go back to Boracay today, back on that bus again. And yeah, if we can't find anything because you know we have the offer on the other place, and we